We've just agreed one of the biggest trade deals of all time.
After months of negotiations, the UK is about to join the Comprehensive and Progressive Trans-Pacific Partnership.
The CPTPP is a trade agreement between 11 dynamic countries like Australia,
Canada,
Japan,
Malaysia and Mexico.
It will help us unlock the benefits of Brexit
for people across the UK.
Well, if that's correct, heaven help us. On the government's own estimates of the potential boost to the UK economy from CPTPP membership, Britain's GDP would see an increase of just £1.8 billion over the next decade. Just £1.8 billion. The Prime Minister is so excited he's actually tweeting about it. It's set to boost the UK economy by £1.8 billion. But what the Prime Minister doesn't mention is that figure is over the next 10 years. And to give it more context,
the Centre for Economic Reform claims the government has lost out on £40 billion in taxes because of the damage done to the country's output by leaving the European Union.
On the government's own figures, in a decade we're likely to see an increase in our wealth of just 0.08%.
A huge boost for growth in our economy.
On the other side of the balance sheet, the loss of GDP due to Brexit and exiting the EU single market is put conservatively by the Independent Office of Budget Responsibility at a staggering 4% of GDP by 2030. That's 50 times greater. A fact which appears to have escaped the Chancellor, who couldn't contain his excitement with this.
The UK economy has very big long-term growth opportunities.
Imagine the shock when he finds out, according to the government's own figures, it will add just 0.08% to the size of Britain's economy over the next decade. As for this,
the CPTPP is a trade agreement between 11 dynamic countries like Australia,
Canada,
Japan,
Malaysia and Mexico.
Imagine the Prime Minister's shock when he finds out the UK already has free trade deals in place with 9 of the 11 countries included in this partnership, including Australia, Canada, Japan and New Zealand. Even Larry the Cat knows any potential benefits from this deal pale in comparison to the huge amount of trade and growth we've lost by leaving the EU. Ever get the impression we're all being taken for fools? If the Prime Minister is pinning his hopes on this deal to
help us unlock the benefits of Brexit,
heaven help us. Remember, the Pacific Partnership was once hailed by Boris Johnson as a key to post-Brexit prosperity.
Anybody who listens to Boris needs professional help.
Spinning this deal as some kind of Brexit win for the country is just complete bollocks. Either they think we're all thick or they are. The government's trade minister has denied there'll be any hit to UK agriculture, but didn't they say that about the trade deal with New Zealand?
British farmers have reacted with shock to the terms of a new free trade deal with New Zealand.
The deal will see Kiwi meat imported without tariffs, and farmers in the UK say they get nothing in return.
A world away from rejoicing Kiwi farmers, their welly-wearing counterparts feel as though they are the sacrificial lambs of the free trade deal.
We're not competing on a level playing field. It's us surrendering to you, New Zealanders, and giving you a great deal, and we're getting nothing out of it.
The impact on Britain's economy is expected to be negligible.
And then there was the trade deal with Australia. On that, listen to former Environment Secretary George Eustace addressing the House of Commons in November last year.
I was in the Cabinet in 2021, and I was in this Cabinet subcommittee that argued over the Australian trade deal. For yes, there were deep arguments and differences over how we should approach this. But since I now enjoy the freedom of the backbenches, I no longer have to put such a positive gloss on what was agreed. The first step is to recognise that the Australia trade deal is not actually a very good deal for the UK. The truth of the matter is that the UK gave away far too much for far too little in return.
And who could forget this gem?
New pork markets, the government's trade minister has excitedly tweeted. Great news for British farmers who can now sell pork to South Korea. We've removed a barrier which blocked exports of products such as bacon and pork sausages and could be worth up to £1 million over 5 years.
Imagine a government so desperate for a benefit of Brexit that its MPs are actually toasting a new pork deal with South Korea worth £1 million over 5 years. That's just £200,000 a year, and it's not even guaranteed. And hold on to your seats for this next bit. We've secured new trade deals with over 70 countries since 2016. That's over £800 billion worth of new global trade, the Conservative Party has triumphantly tweeted. This tweet, shared by members of the government, has been slammed by the official statistics watchdog. Most of these deals were simply rolled over from existing EU agreements following Brexit. The figure refers to the total value of trade between the UK and countries it's agreed trade deals with, not the value that they add. So saying these trade deals are worth over £800 billion in new global trade is just complete bollocks. Britain is the only country to negotiate a deal which involved walling itself off from a trading bloc made up of its nearest neighbours, making it harder both to sell your stuff and buy their stuff. Some might call it economic lunacy. And the government's trying to sell all this as a win to the public. How long are we going to let these truth-twisting chancers get away with this?